Hi, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela with Blue Bear Flutes. Of course, our website, bluebearflutes.com. You can find many of our wonderful instruments for sale, as well as some additional instructional information. Lots of other neat stuff there too. Some of it I won't go into right now, but anyway, some really great stuff on our website. And don't forget our Instagram page, which is also Blue Bear Flutes. Of course, Twitter and Facebook are the same place. As I always mention, I really love our Instagram because there's so many pictures of beautiful things we've made and places we've been, people we've met, that kind of stuff. Which I enjoy. I guess it's when you get older you start reminiscing about stuff. But anyway, today I'm talking to you again about our drone flutes, or your drone flutes, whatever kind of drone flutes you might have on hand. I wanted to give you some ideas on not only how to play, but also how to keep it going, making it work properly for you. So this is a straight drone. Some people call it a shotgun drone because it looks kind of like a double-barreled shotgun, I guess, to some people, but I call it a straight drone because they're side-by-side, which is another kind of a nickname, side-by-side drone. They are in so many ways more closely related to the original drones that were made, because the original ones that we found historically were made out of clay, and they were tubes that were side-by-side like that, or ones that were shaped like animals and different things, but in a lot of cases they were really side-by-sides, many of them. Some of you may also have an A-frame drone, kind of like this guy. And the Aframe drone, like I'd mentioned, is not necessarily as common amongst historically discovered Native American drones. However, it is a very popular one today, mostly because of the way it looks. The Aframe drone that you have may be a little different than this one, maybe larger, smaller. You could have extra fingerings over here that you can't use most of the time, that you have to keep a button in or something. You may have a 6-hole flute. Now, I should tell you right off, if this is the first video you've seen of mine, I usually try to mention that the modern 6-hole flute that most flute makers make today requires you to keep a hole covered most of the time. This flute plays exactly like that flute, except for you don't have to keep a hole covered all the time. There's no hole there, so that's a convenience. And some people would say, does it play less notes? No, it plays the same amount of notes. In many cases, our flutes actually play more notes than anybody else's, but it just depends on the flute maker, I guess. With regards to the note that's in the 6-hole flute that you can play with that finger that you keep covered most of the time, you can play that note on here as well. There's a way to play these flutes chromatically. That's not what we're here about today. Just wanted to show you this little guy. And to start off, this is kind of a general video with regards to drones, and give you some ideas of how they work and what to do with it. With an A-frame drone, there's something you need to know. If something sounds like, let me partially cover one of these holes and see if it'll, well actually, gosh, I don't know if I can even do this. I'd have to cover with my leg. Let's see if I can do that. You hear that whoa, 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 whoa sound? If your drone is sounding like that, it's because the two chambers are not in tune. There's a couple of reasons they may not be in tune. Something could be inside of one of them. It could have been manufactured that way. And if it's manufactured that way, you might want to talk to the maker. And another thing it could be is the block here might be a little crooked on one side, or it might be slid down over the sound hole. Let's see if that'll do it. It's going woo, so you can kind of tell that it's a little bit different. So there could be a number of things causing it to do that. The first thing I would do is look at the position of the blocks to make sure that they seem like where they belong. With any Native American flute, it's usually right behind the sound hole. So ours have a little stop here on this type of flute so that it stops the block from going back, and that's where it needs to be. This straight drone, likewise, mine don't have a stop. I have considered putting a stop on them for some time, but it's so much better looking, I think, without one. And once again, all you have to do is line the bottom of this block up with the back of the sound holes. But you can't have it lined up with one and not the other and have it crooked like that. Let's see if it'll play. It's trying to wobble there, making that kind of weird woo 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 sound. But with this flute, you just need to basically keep both of the sound holes open and the block sitting right to the back edge of them. That'll make it play properly. If it's still not playing properly, if it's making the kind of a sound like that or something similar, it's usually because something's blocking a hole, or it's also possible that there's something underneath of the block in the track area. changing the speed of the air coming through that track area actually changes the tone of the flute. There's so many things with regards to the sound holes and the tracks and the block and just everything about this part of the flute that will change the tone of it. So keep that in mind. If yours is making a wobbling sound, that's probably what's causing it. So typically, I'm going to put this one up because we're not talking about that today, although pretty much everything I'm going to show you will play over to it. Typically when you play a drone flute, you want to keep it in front of you just like any other time. There's a lot of people that play like this, which is more for show, and I'm not sure why, but anyway, you can keep it in front of you, and you don't have to play sideways. You can, but I'll show you why I say you can. It's because there's a hole up here, an extra set of, there's two mouthpieces basically, and there's a hole on this side, and sometimes if all I'm going to play is the flute, it's so much easier to put it on the side like that. Although I can slide my face sideways like that, and it'll work, but I usually so that's just playing the flute side of the drone by I'm centering this hole actually on my mouth. So it's kind of up to you if you want to do that or not. That's just playing the scale on this drone flute. Now, when you go to play the drone chamber with it, keep in mind you don't have to play both of them all the time. It's something you can We'll talk a lot more about that in some of our upcoming videos about the drone. Like I said, with this today, I wanted to focus on how this little guy works, what it takes to play it properly, how to really get what it is that you're trying to get out of it. Now, many of you may not know this, and I learned it at a very young age, thank goodness. I had some really outstanding people that I guess influenced me, but many of you may not know this. But when you play the Native American flute, the thing that I guess the audience, the listener really likes to hear, 9 times out of 10, is long, somber, drawn out phrases. Phrases being like a group of slowly played notes, long drawn out, phrases. Anyway, so I've heard some people play the drones particularly quite fast, and I've always admired that because it's an interesting skill that I've developed, but it's not my favorite thing to do, although I do enjoy listening to people who are good at playing it fast because it's very melodic, I guess. However, when you're playing the drone flute, as I had mentioned in one of our previous videos, the size of the flute will determine how much air it takes. So if you have a really low-tone flute, it takes a certain amount of air, but if you have a low-tone drone, it takes even more air. This is a high C drone. We call our backpack drones. And it's really one of my favorites. I usually keep this guy with me. But with this type of little flute, you can play it forever without taking a breath. So just to give you kind of an idea, as we're wrapping this one up, I'll show you some of the things that you can do if you take your time and not get overwhelmed and not be in such a hurry and kind of relax. This is something you can do with the drone. adds a whole nother level of what you can do with your flute. So if you've learned to play the Native American flute, or even if you're a beginner and you wanted something that gave you multiple directions you could go at the same time. I'm not just playing that would almost get boring after a while. So with the drone flute, you can not only have all the style and everything that you have learned so far, or that you're learning, with playing a but you can actually not only use those style techniques with the drone chamber or with the drone flute all at one time, you can also incorporate new ways to blend them. So there's a lot upcoming and a lot that I've still got to show you. So I hope you guys are doing well. Once again, we have countless videos on making and playing Native American flutes. We have made quite a bunch of them, and we enjoy making flutes. It's actually something that grew from a hobby, or maybe even just a calling, to a hobby, to eventually a small business, and to what we do today. And like I said, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you folks have enjoyed this video. If you find some use in it, and if you have questions about some of the things I mentioned with regards to 6-hole flutes, or even the Aframe drone, we probably have a video on that. I mean, we definitely have a video on that. But if you have some questions about how to maintain your flute, how to take care of it, just look back through our playlists and our videos. We have so many videos on those kind of things. In any case, I hope you're all doing well for the third time. And we look forward to seeing you here again very soon. Once again, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela signing out for Blue Bear Flutes and bluebearflutes.com. You guys take care. Y'all happy flute playing, happy flute making, and make sure you enjoy yourself.